how's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at The Outer Limits Season 1, Episode 9, and this one's entitled Corpus Earthling. This originally aired November 18th, all the way back in 1963, was directed by Gerd Oswald, and stars Robert Culp with special guest star Salome. And in this episode, the husband of a geologist discovers that these rocks that they recently picked up are actually specimens of this mysterious species, an agent parasite seeking human host to eventually take over the world. And this episode talks a bit about paranoia, and I think it is interesting, but it kind of falls into the trap that a lot of classic sci-fi has of having a concept that's really out of the box and creative, and does have something interesting to say, but at the same time, this is the episode about the talking rocks that want to get you. It is a little bit silly. Don't get me wrong, the rocks, when they kind of like pulsate, are kind of fun, and they do even change form and get this weird little crawling mechanism thing going on. That's pretty cool. And we even get some cool special effects makeup when they do possess someone that I thought came out really nice. In addition to that, the acting is pretty good in this one, and especially the relationship between the couple came out very nice. We also get some fun experimental shots playing with foreground elements, because in this lab they have all these shelves and we get shots from behind the shelves, so we get really cool like rocks and stuff in the foreground. There's a lot to like here, but as I said, the idea that the rocks are out to get me is just by its nature kind of silly. I do wish we got to milk some of what made this episode unique though. Talking about paranoia is a really interesting thing, and there's been so many good paranoia thrillers that have come out since this. It touches on it well enough, but we could have got really trippy, and I do wish we had pushed it farther. And I also wish this was more plot and puzzle heavy, because it turns out the rocks have some interesting powers. Also, who's possessed by the rock, and what do they know, and how can they do stuff. You could have got a really cool, like, manipulation script out of this, but that wasn't pushed far enough either. I do want to say this was a fun episode of The Outer Limits, not the best thing ever, but with some cool effects, cool camera work, good acting, and it is original and fun. Even when the show gets cheesy, it's still fun, old school B sci-fi cheesy. But again, I wish they had pushed the paranoia and the puzzle pieces a little bit farther. Not the best episode in the world, but it is one you can have a good time with. But let's analyze it a little bit further. I'm going to be talking a bit about the plot. Don't worry, no significant spoilers. I'll focus primarily on the setup portion of this, although I will touch a bit on that second act. But I'll try not to ruin anything too big, but from here on out, let's do a bit of breakdown and analysis. We open up with two geologists, a man and a woman, and they're in a laboratory. The woman's husband comes in, and it turns out he's a doctor. And I do like that. They're both scientist people, but in two different fields. He's gonna pick her up and take her to lunch, she goes and gets ready, and eventually he's left alone in the laboratory. And we do get a bit of old-timey lack of lab safety here. You see there's an oven that's made out of just like a propane torch and a few like bricks around it, and it's literally spewing flames out, just like a big open flame they're leaving unattended, and it happens to go out when it's just the husband there, and this could mean that it's just spewing gas into the room, at which point you have two options: either turn off the source of the gas or relight the flame. He chooses option B, but apparently he takes a little bit too long, and it explodes, knocking him against one of the shelves. He's momentarily down, and that's when he hears the rocks talking. You see, at the beginning of this episode, the geologists were discussing these two mysterious rocks that someone had found and brought in. But now that the rocks are alone, they're starting to speak to each other and talk about their evil plan. It turns out these rocks are actually specimens of an agent parasite, and now they need human host. Kind of like Venom from the Marvel Comics. I mean, they're even black in color. I wonder if this was part of the inspiration. But they talk about how when they get in a human host, just because of their nature, they're gonna kind of eat away at the person. So they need a really good, strong human host, or they're just going to kill them. And they can't use the guy on the floor because he's already damaged. He's got a metal plate in his head from the war. So no, not him. But when he says, hey, who's there, who's talking, the rocks are like, oh man, now we gotta kill this guy. It turns out he can hear us. And a few things right off the bat. I guess the whole explosion thing was just possible deniability. Maybe I didn't really hear the rocks. Maybe it was all in my head because I got a concussion. I think it's just the plate that enables him to hear them. And even though normal humans can't hear them, it's a good thing that the rocks weren't just casually chit-chatting. I guess they were just being extra safe. And also, I think when they would start talking, instead of just hatching their evil plan, they'd be like, whoa, did you see that guy? He just exploded? But they don't care about that. I also like with their voices, it's a bit of like old school classic maniacal evil sci-fi character. I do love this trope. We are the super intelligent rocks, yield to us, puny Earthling. But naturally, his wife and the other scientists come back. They check him out. He seems to be okay. And that's where he starts talking. Hey, I don't know what's going on. You'll probably think I'm crazy. But I swear I heard a voice in the lab. Something in here's wanting to kill us. And why they do discuss about how a scientist shouldn't dismiss things and the possibility of agent parasites, they do in general think he just got hit on the head. Now things heat up a bit when the rocks use their psychic powers to try to get him to jump out a window. They of course catch him in time, but really question his mental state. And that is something, like I get how is a rock going to fight you until it possesses someone, but at the same time if the rocks have mind control abilities then they should be a lot harder to deal with. But this doesn't turn into the big puzzle piecey element that it really could have, and they just use it from time to time. At home, the guy's paranoid about every knock on the door and every phone call. His wife tries to calm him down and they realize, hey, we never had a honeymoon, let's escape to Mexico. And I don't want to go too much farther into the episode than that. I will say it is fun to get the escape to another country trope. The little Mexican house is a really fun set, and it's out in the middle of nowhere, and you get this guy, and he's like building fires to ward off evil spirits or something. And I will say they have this whole thing where it's like his friend's house that he's watching over and decides to rent it out, and then their host is like literally sleeping on the dirt outside of the house just waiting if they need anything. And I'm like, that would be weird if you go to an Airbnb and the host is just sleeping on the front lawn, but I guess this was the 1960s. And of course, you know things are going to heat up. They're not just going to live out a happy honeymoon in Mexico. But again, if you didn't know, in the flash forward at the opening of the episode, they do of course spoil a bit more than I'd want them to. It does heat up to a fun enough finale, and overall I thought the episode was good. Not the best thing ever, but a fun little classic weird old sci-fi idea. A few moments that hit, and a lot that I wish was pushed farther. But if you guys are into old school B sci-fi movies, especially ones that have a bit more going for them than they should even if they were silly, then definitely check this out. This one was pretty cool. Anyway, to everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Outer Limits playlist where you can see me review the past episodes of this show. So at the time of recording, there should be 8 more videos there and hopefully many more on the way. So anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Playlist is right here. Have a good day now.